In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Maybe you've heard these famous words before. Maybe you're listening to them and they sound oddly familiar, but you couldn't place exactly where they're from. Maybe you're hearing them for the first time. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The first book of the Bible is called Genesis, and it opens with these famous words. In the Jewish and Christian understanding of the world, everything we see, everything we experience around us was created by God with a purpose and for a purpose. When we open up a Bible to the very first page, Genesis chapter 1, we learn some of the most important truths about reality, humanity, and God. Now remember, over the course of this 10-week video series, we've been asking and answering 10 questions. And these questions and their answers, they come from a book by Rebecca McLaughlin called 10 Questions Every Teen Should Ask and Answer About Christianity. We'd encourage you to take a look at this book as it goes a little deeper into each of the questions we've been looking at. We've looked at topics like universalism, diversity, sexuality, the afterlife, and more. Our hope is that as we engage with these topics, we'll all see that faith in Jesus isn't about blindly accepting religious tradition or dogma, but it's about thinking clearly, critically, and rationally about life's biggest questions and coming to the realization that Jesus is in fact the way, the truth, and the life. In this video, we're going to answer the question, who cares if you're a boy or a girl? And our hope is that as we explore God's design for humanity and for human sexuality, we'll all see that God doesn't make mistakes, and He calls each of us to submit our feelings and desires to His authority. In a previous video, we talked in depth about same-sex attraction and God's design for sexual intimacy to only exist between one man and one woman in the covenant of marriage. In this video, we're going to explore the idea of transgenderism and what the Bible has to say on the topic. Because the reality is, unless you've been living under a rock, transgenderism is a huge topic for our culture. Some days it feels like it's the only thing anyone is talking about, and it's our responsibility as followers of Jesus to know how to engage this topic in a respectful, honest, and meaningful way. Now, if you're like me and you follow Jesus, then you recognize that His authority is the highest authority. What He says goes. And if you're a follower of Jesus, then you also recognize that the primary way that Jesus speaks to His people is through Scripture, through the Bible. So let's dive back into Genesis chapter 1 to get God's perspective on human sexuality, on male and female. In verse 27 of Genesis chapter 1, we read this. So God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He created them, male and female, He created them. From the very beginning of the Bible, two important truths about humanity jump off the page. First, we're all created in God's image. Second, God created the categories of male and female on purpose with a purpose. This verse, this part of the creation story is foundational for you and I to navigate our current cultural climate. The conversation around transgenderism, it's charged. It's emotional. It's incredibly important because we're talking about real people experiencing real feelings of brokenness, pain, and loneliness. As followers of Jesus, we want to share with people both the truths of Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, that no matter how you feel, no matter what you've done, no matter what you believe, you were created in God's image. And that's no small thing. Being created in God's image means that every person, that you have inherent worth, inherent value, and inherent dignity. And it's our job as followers of Jesus to make sure that everyone is treated with worth and dignity, even if we disagree with their decisions, even if we disagree with their sexuality or lifestyle or really anything else. But the second part of verse 27 is equally important. God created us male and female. God created the two gender distinction on purpose. Male and female aren't arbitrary cultural concepts designed to oppress people. They're God-given categories that help each of us find our place in the world. God creates everyone with the same worth and dignity, but He doesn't create everyone with the same function or role. The reality is, God creates each of us on purpose, and He doesn't make mistakes. God created the categories of male and female on purpose, and He didn't make a mistake. He didn't create male and female to oppress anyone or force us into arbitrary boxes. He did it because He wants us to flourish and reflect His image to the world. In all honesty, I couldn't imagine the confusion, the pain, the frustration of being born a male, but feeling with all my heart that I should have been born a female. I couldn't imagine what that must be like, but I do know that each of us, regardless of our sexual identity, regardless of our gender identity, we're all being asked by Jesus to trust that his way of life is better than ours. We're all asked to take our feelings and desires off of our priority lists and replace them with what Jesus wants for us, trusting that his desires are so much better than anything we could have ever imagined. I'll end with this. I don't know if you're watching this and you're a boy who feels like a girl or a girl who feels like a boy. I don't know if you're watching this and you're an angry Christian who can't see the humanity of the transgendered side of the aisle. I don't know if you're watching this and you have a friend or family member who's struggling with their gender identity. Wherever you're at, in this conversation, never forget the words of Genesis 1:27. In the image of God, he created them. In the image of God, he created us. Everyone has worth. Everyone has dignity. And if you're a Christian, it's our job to go out of our way to treat people with love and respect, to show them who God is, and to trust the power of his Spirit to transform their life.